BRICS is also going on. BRICS 2023 in Africa and South Africa has also been going on. So this is going to be a quick segment. This is, like I said, RBN brother Nick did a video on BRICS, and let's listen.
We are witnessing the end of U.S. hegemonic dominance and a shift towards de-dollarization. That is the message you're hearing from Xi Jinping, Putin, and Lula as they meet at the latest BRICS summit, where they discuss de-dollarization and expanding membership for their bloc. This is why this summit is so significant, because you have leaders in at least 23 nations that express desire to join BRICS. And BRICS as a bloc already surpassed the G7 in terms of GDP. So you have BRICS that represents around 40% of the population, 30% of the global trade, and a fourth of the world's economy that united behind the goal of de-dollarization. Woo, we are fucking screwed, fam. It's been a long time coming, fam, because it's not a coincidence that the countries that make up a BRICS and the nations who want to join BRICS have all been victims of Western imperialism and Western sanctions. Lula, for example, has been a harsh critic of Russian sanctions and have been calling for peace talks in Ukraine. Lula has been a harsh critic of the IMF as well, and that's why he's been calling for Argentina to join BRICS, because he blames the IMF for help bankrupting Argentina. BRICS has a lot of work to do, and they're not perfect, but providing an alternative for countries who've been victims of the IMF and U.S. sanctions is nothing but a great thing, and anti-imperialists should be rooting for them.
We're going to start with the groups that are going to be added. So this is pretty big news here. The reason this BRICS summit is such a big deal, or is turning out to be such a big deal, is for many reasons. One of which is the addition, or the possible addition, of Saudi Arabia. Now, 23 countries were interested in joining BRICS for this summit. They had interest, and it now has been revealed that the 6 countries that will actually be officially admitted. And here are the 6 countries. This is from Richard Medhurst, and I'm going to play the video along with the announcement. But let's read what Richard says. Historic. BRICS has invited 6 new countries to join. The rise of the global south and the multipolarism accelerates as the obsolete regime of Western hegemony dwindles into irrelevance. The new BRICS members will be Egypt, Ethiopia, Argentina, UAE, that's United Arab Emirates, Iran, and the big one, in my opinion, is Saudi Arabia. We'll get into a little bit more detail of that, but let's listen to the announcement of it. And this is, I think this is the South African president.
We have decided to invite the Argentine Republic, the Arab Republic of Egypt, the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, the Islamic Republic of Iran, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates to become full members of BRICS. The membership will take effect from the 1st of January 2024. We have
So you heard. That's the official announcement, and Richard Medhurst is actually covering it. He was credentialed to cover this event. And now, why Saudi Arabia and some of the other countries, why this makes this such a huge deal, is because of this fact right here. With the addition of these 6 countries, breaking, 6 of the world's 9 biggest oil producers will be members of BRICS as of January 2024. That's 4 months away. So within 4 months, BRICS, the members of BRICS will be 6 of the 9 top oil producing countries. And I believe that translates into about 80%. I think I've seen the numbers of 79, 80% of all oil production. Now, we're a climate change activists. We want all of these sort of oil production to end, but yet and still, this is huge when you're talking about the world economy and resources. So let's go to another receipt here, and I'm doing it backwards since I was muted and I started the other way. Let's do it a little backwards as far as a receipt wise. Now, here you see the Iranian president with Xi Jinping on the sidelines at BRICS, and they're talking about, this is after the announcement of them becoming full-fledged members of BRICS in just 4 months. So there's no particular sound on here. This is just them showing with some handshakes and meeting at the summit of BRICS. And let's go to another receipt here. We did that one. We're going to come back to that article because that is an important article. I'll read the headline here. This one from Telesur. And it says, Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel celebrated the expansion of the BRICS group, which will admit 6 new countries, including Argentina. Okay, we'll read this one. This is Black in the Empire. BRICS expanded by 6 countries. 40 countries expressed interest in joining BRICS. So he says 40 here. African countries are kicking out the West and flying Russian flags. Looks to me like it's the U.S. and their vassals that are totally isolated, not Russia. And I think that's a response to, Russia's isolated. Russia and China has isolated themselves. And that's something they always say. Now let's get to Nick's video that kind of talks about one part of this, and that's the de-dollarization as a result of these BRICS nations. Let's listen to Nick.
You're witnessing the end of U.S. hegemonic dominance and a shift towards de-dollarization. That is the message you're hearing from Xi Jinping, Putin, and Lula as they meet at the latest BRICS summit, where they discuss de-dollarization and expanding membership for their bloc. This is why this summit is so significant, because you have leaders in at least 23 nations that express desire to join BRICS. And BRICS as a bloc already surpassed the G7 in terms of GDP. So you have BRICS that represents around 40% of the population, 30% of the global trade, and a fourth of the world's economy that united behind the goal of de-dollarization. Woo, we are fucking screwed, fam. It's been a long time coming, fam, because it's not a coincidence that the countries that make up a BRICS and the nations who want to join BRICS have all been victims of Western imperialism and Western sanctions. Lula, for example, has been a harsh critic of Russian sanctions and have been calling for peace talks in Ukraine. Lula has been a harsh critic of the IMF as well, and that's why he's been calling for Argentina to join BRICS, because he blames the IMF for help bankrupting Argentina. BRICS has a lot of work to do, and they're not perfect, but providing an alternative for countries who've been victims of the IMF and U.S. sanctions is nothing but a great thing, and anti-imperialists should be rooting for them.
I know that me and everybody over here at RBN are rooting for BRICS. Some people call us BRICS stands. And yeah, I'm completely fine with that. Like he said, BRICS has issues, and some of the members have issues, but breaking U.S. hegemony and imperialism supersedes that, and in our sort of opinions. All right, so let's get to the next receipt on BRICS. So here we go. West tried every trick in the book to sabotage BRICS. Now let's watch this video. Now this is a longer video. This is RT, but this is some great information. will stop and start and make comments. Let's listen.
Incredible guests, and we have another one right now. Mahasha Rampedi, the editor-in-chief of African Times, is here with us in our rooftop studio to share his thoughts on the BRICS and what it stands for. Now, let's start off with just how popular the BRICS summit has been this year. Over 40 countries want to be a part of this group. Why is it so popular, do you think?
Look, we're dealing with a watershed BRICS summit. You know that ahead of the start of the BRICS summit, you had 20 plus countries lining up to join the BRICS summit. However, if you look at the agenda, the BRICS summit for the first time in as many years was scheduled to discuss the expansion of the BRICS bloc, to decide on the de-dollarization of the world, and to also decide on how to approach geopolitics. It has never happened before in the history of the BRICS summit that you have the summit and its leaders sitting down despite all the enormous pressure from the West. Ahead of the summit, you had the West threatening South Africa with removal from AGOA, threatening India with sanctions if they were to continue associating with President Putin. They imposed tariff barriers on China and orchestrated the so-called arrest warrant against President Putin. They tried every trick in the book to try and sabotage or create a crisis around this summit. However, to their credit, the BRICS members, they withstood all this pressure, met here in Johannesburg. And if you check what happened on the first day of the summit, they spoke in one voice. They promised to debate and finalize the issue of the expansion of the bloc. They promised to decide on alternative payment mechanisms. And they also decided to push for the reform of the UN Security Council. Those were very much important.
Yeah, they say timing is everything. Why now are these things only just being discussed? Why not in the past? Why now?
Look, a lot has happened in geopolitics. You would know that for a long time, the international order was a unipolar world led by America. They called the shots. But if you check what has happened in recent years, you had the rise of China, which counterbalanced the world economic systems. You had Russia proving militarily in Ukraine that is not a pushover, and it went toe-to-toe against NATO and succeeded. So you had the West, which for a long time had been using the dollar or the financial systems as well as the military might to dictate terms. But now you have Russia and China on the one side, counterbalancing militarily and economically. So the world, or the developing world, or the global south have now for a long time, and for the first time, realized that they are no longer at the mercy of the West. There is the BRICS Development Bank. They don't have to be vulnerable and literally beg the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank to get any loans. For the first time, they don't have to be vulnerable and literally dance to the tune of the Americans simply because if they dare implement an independent foreign policy, they will then be attacked militarily. There's Russia to protect them, there's China to protect them and give them alternative loans if they don't want to be forced to implement the foreign policy of the West.
And speaking.
Did you hear that? He has an accent, but you can understand him very clearly. So if you want something, if you want help, monetary help, but you don't want to have to institute Western values into your country, reach out to BRICS. That's essentially what he's saying here, which is why countries in Africa are finally sort of getting fed up and saying to hell with the West and going towards China and Russia, flying Russian flags, as he was stating earlier. So let's continue with the clip.
Speaking of geopolitical stability and balance, many African countries are potentially new members of the BRICS. What does that mean for the continent's economy and stability?
Look, it means a lot. If you had Algeria in the north, which is a regional power, you have Nigeria in the west, which is a regional power, and now you're going to have Egypt in the north also as a regional power. You are talking about big powers on the continent. They are now going to potentially join forces with Saudi Arabia, join forces with Iran, join forces with Argentina, Malaysia. You're talking about regional powers from the global south, which together, when they join the current BRICS member states, who, at least as we speak now, they account for at least 32% of the global GDP. They account for more than 40% of the global population. When you bring all those new countries into the picture, automatically you are going to give the West and their multilateral institutions, especially the G7, a run for their money. You are talking about countries which combined, they've got the oil, they've got the resources, they've got the technology, they've got governance systems, they've got the military might. So it's important for Africa because for a long time, Africa was vulnerable to the West. They did as they pleased. Look what's happening in the Sahel now. You had France being there for a very long time, but the Sahel was never a peaceful environment. If you go to Niger now, there is a coup, but that coup is popular. It's one of those popular coups. Why? Because France for a long time did as it pleased in the Sahel without necessarily developing the region. You go to Mali, you go to Burkina Faso, you had popular coups. It's one of those rare phenomena where democracy appears to have failed the people. And as a result, Africans are now uniting behind young leaders who are leading popular coups, but at the same time, sending neo-colonialists back home. They are saying to their people that, look, we had to intervene militarily. One, because democracy.
He's talking about the coups, and the reason I had to play it because I'm interested, very intrigued about this information myself, and I'm also trying to report it to you, but I'm interested in this information myself and what he's is saying, just to hear the reasoning and the analysis of Royer's like colonialist when he's referring to the West. This is the future. This is historic. So let's get to a couple of more receipts. We don't need to finish that video. Man, this is historic. I'm gonna get this prepared to read, and I'll read the headline that's here now. And the headline says, "BRICS to officially abandon the U.S. dollar." And I think that's all the videos. Yeah, that's all the videos I had. So let me now move to this article, and we're going to close with this article. The source is watcher.guru. BRICS to officially abandon the US dollar. I'm going to blow this up a little bit here. According to Brazil's president, the BRICS economic alliance is officially set to abandon the US dollar for trade settlements. Moreover, the development aligns with recent de-dollarization efforts embraced by the bloc. As they continue to promote the use of local currencies internationally, Brazil's president Lula confirmed the development at this week's BRICS summit. Additionally, the bloc announced its agreement to expand, changing the geopolitical landscape. The alliance is set to welcome 6 additional countries by 2024. BRICS officially moving away from US dollar for trade. The highly anticipated BRICS summit arrived this week, with the entire world watching. Specifically, the geopolitical sector sought to see what could come from the gathering. A focus had been placed on both local currency development and potential expansion. Now, after expansion had already been announced, the BRICS is set to officially abandon the US dollar for trade settlement. The move falls in line with the economic policies the bloc had had been set to embrace and was confirmed by Brazil's president. Ultimately, it is set to have a notable impact on the performance of the greenback in impending months. And you see sort of the handshaking with Putin and MBS with this new a coalition. And there was one other thing, and I think I'll end with this slide. And let me read. It says new composition of BRICS. This is where I got the 80%. Okay, so this is where I got the 80% of oil production. So new composition of BRICS will control 80% of world oil production. With the additions of Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Iran to the BRICS, the union will be able to control the lion's shares of world's oil production. The same goes for the sharp GDP growth of the new BRICS countries. It will amount to 30% of the world's GDP and exceed 30 trillion. Like I said, BRICS is the future,